I don't know if you want me to address you as ladies and gentlemen, Rotarians, friends of Rotary. But from where I come from and where I'm speaking from as my voice, I'll just say, I'm glad to meet you wonderful people, because that's my voice. And thank you so much for letting me into your space. You know, when someone says, come into my living room and let's talk, it is an honor to be before all of you and share with you what I am actually all about. Because when I got here, I was asked, why did you leave radio? Well, it's a long story. Maybe as I'm explaining why you need to know your voice, you'll get to know why this voice left radio voice to find its voice. Now, whenever you hear people talking about find your voice, what comes to your mind? Do you think it's the sound? Because when you listen to people singing, we say, oh, she has a lovely voice. I remember when I joined radio, they said, oh, you have a radio voice. I was like, really? I did the interview, and then 2 days into the job, I was being told to sound like something, and I was like, I thought you loved my voice. Let me speak from my voice. So today I'm here to talk about why you need to know your voice, because it is your voice that designs your life. And until you own your voice, somebody else is going to design your life. I think it's a behavioral psychologist, who's called John Atkinson. He said, if you do not run your life, somebody else will run your life. Well, I'm here to share with you that I have since found my voice, and I would love others also to find their voice. So when I talk about a voice, what comes to mind? A voice is anything an individual believes in, consents in, makes their choices from, makes their decisions from, will defend so as to attract and have an expression and experience, or what we call circumstance in life. Now, I have 3 things that have helped guide me to find my voice. And that's the reason why I even left radio, because I finally found my voice. These are 3 things you can also use to find your voice. Because until you find your voice, like I said, somebody else's voice is what you will voice. And as you grow and experience in life, you'll find that you are unfulfilled and you have been living somebody else's life because you have been voicing somebody else's voice. So these are the 3 filters, or the 3 principles that have helped me find my voice. So anybody can use them to find their voice. And that is value, influence, and ownership. I'll break down each one of them and explain to you how they have worked in my life to find my voice. And that's why now when they read my bio, it's not radio presenter, it's not teacher, it's not mother, but international educator and transformation speaker, because I now have found my voice. I'll start with value. Everybody has something they value in life, because whatever you value is where you're going to make your choices and your decisions. Now, as a young child, I had a vision where I was standing up before a microphone and a huge audience. And I stepped to this microphone and I say, can you hear me? And I've held that vision to this day. I was a very outspoken child. I was blessed to go to a day school in Kampala where I self-expressed. As a child, I valued self-expression. So I loved speaking before people. I loved expressing my ideas openly. And you know, in the typical African tradition, children are supposed to be seen and not heard. Well, this one, she was heard. I was loud. Fast forward, my parents had a challenge. My brother, who has now ceased, had to be taken out of the country. So I was plucked out of this school in Kampala where I could self-express and taken to a boarding school. And we all know boarding schools, you are just supposed to be seen. But this girl valued self-expression. So how has it helped me even right as of a child to know what my voice was? When I got to this boarding school, we were told to cut off our hair. And I think right now they still cut off hair. And I don't get how intellectual and academics has to connect with hair. I love to express myself. You can even see, you know, even up to now, I still love my hair. So the fact that I was told that I was going to lose my hair, I felt like a part of my voice had been taken away, because hair would help me express myself. So I only allowed the barber who cut my father's hair to cut my hair. So we get to boarding, And in the middle of the term, they would ask us to shave our hair again because it will grow. And each one of you was given a different matron to shave your hair. This girl valued self-expression. They had taken away one of my ways of expressing myself. So when the matron stepped over to my head, I said, you're not going to cut my head because you're not my father's barber, and my hair will be as it is. Why should you cut it? He says, oh, you're going to get lice, you're going to get ringworms. I said, well, so far I don't have lice and I don't have ringworms, so you're not going to cut my hair. Because I valued expressing who I was, the matron decided to give me permission to grow my hair, because I always knew what I wanted, and hair was part of my self-expression. My point is, everybody has something that they value, from where they speak, and they will stand and defend no matter what, even when it puts you into trouble. So for me, this little girl, hair was my way of expressing myself. I showed up and I spoke for it. But my parents taking me to boarding school, their value was get an education, get into university, get a white-collar job, get married, have kids, retire. Those are the values of my parents, and that's why they had to take me through that educational process. And well, I followed up to a certain time, and right now, well, I'm a kind of a rebel. So whatever you value as an individual is your voice. There are some things my parents would ask me to do, and I say, Mommy, that doesn't express me as an individual. I feel like you are suffocating me, which we do as parents. I have actually changed my parenting role. We came from a place where people thought your parent had to put you in a mold like them and be a mini-me, mini version of your parents. But children are born with their own unique identity, their own voice. And normally the ones who do not follow the sheepish obedience of tradition are labeled rebels, and yet they have found their voice early enough. So my question to you right now, at whatever age you are in, what do you, the individual, value? Are you valuing somebody else's values, and so you're speaking from their voice? And so you find yourself at some point very frustrated and unfulfilled, because your voice will come from what you, the individual, values. So those are one of the things you need to write down tonight and ask yourself, what do I value right here, right now in my life? And I want you to remove the filters of society, of your parents, or anything that has influenced you. Let me give you a hint. As a child, there's something that used to inspire you, ignite you, and put you in trouble. You valued it, but your parents said, you have to go to school, you have to get a degree, you have to do this. If you don't do that, you're going to be a failure. Well, I was raised from a generation where parents valued a white-collar job. Yes, so that was their value, and so I had to fit in their mold. Am I still in that? Well, kind of not. So what do you value right now in your life? This lady, where she is right now, there are three things I value: freedom, wealth, and knowledge. Not school, but knowledge, ever learning and unlearning. Wealth in my friendships, wealth in my health, wealth in my earning, of course. I also value freedom to express that what I desire to self-express. I value freedom to respect people in whatever sphere they are. When we find each other in a place where we are confronting each other, I do not judge you, I respect you. So instead of confrontation, we have carefrontation. So ask yourself today, what do I value? Is it mama's values? Is it society's values? Is it Judge's values which worked for him? And now you're stuck in that place where you are like voicing your grandparents' voice. Because your voice is your own individual desire, things that you feel will express you. I knew right from the get-go I was born to speak to a mammoth audience, and it has started. So that's number one. Number two, influence. Whatever is influencing you will influence your voice. You see, this girl knew that she always would speak her mind. Fast forward, I knew I was going to be in the speaking arena as my life. I found myself leaving the teaching profession. I was now in radio. I pioneered the first duo breakfast show. But when I joined radio, Capital Radio that is, I started in the mid-morning and I was shining. I was really shining. So the bosses said, you know what? let's move her to the morning show, increase the ratings, etc. I accepted because for me, challenge accepted. But when we got there, my co-host saw me as female. We know what is going on with the gender issue. Females are supposed to just sound like jingles and sexy and unintelligent. Not this girl. Because I let the genius influence me. As a child, I always grew up and I told myself, Irene, you are a genius. So all throughout school, even when I was challenged, I don't know how many of you here love math, but I hate mathematics. Because I remember my first math test in senior 4, they gave us 20 questions, I answered 2, the results came back, and my teacher said, oh, Irene, I saw your results and I thought they were your position. Of course, you know what I had scored, 4%. Yes, I scored 4%. I answered 2 questions, and those 2 questions gave me 2 marks. I didn't answer the other 18. So she asked me, why didn't you answer the 18? I said, out of the 20, those are the only 2 you explained to me and I comprehended. The other 18, I did not know the formula. I'm a genius, and a genius will only do what they think they know is right. So my point is, what is influencing you? Where do you filter yourself from? In this radio place where I was then as a co-host in the breakfast show, when I argued before the program director and I said, look here, you bumped me to the morning show because you want to increase your ratings. I'm not just a sexy female. I am intelligent. I am a genius. And I am going to make myself heard. And I did. Before we knew it, we had the best breakfast show, duo, English speaking, in Kampala. Because I found my voice. I knew I was a genius. I knew I was equal to the male. I don't see the person as a male. I see this as a human being coming into my sphere to have an experience. So what do you let influence you so that you do not show up to speak about who you are? And by the way, in the end, I also got them to bump my salary to the same, because when I was doing the breakfast show, I was earning okay, I can't even mention, he was earning 4 times more than me. So because I always put the influence of I'm a genius, no matter what, whether male or female, I'm a genius, that influences my voice. So when I find myself in a challenging or confronting place, I say, hey, Irene, you're a genius. You came here to add your genius in this sphere. So what is influencing you? Because whatever influences you will determine how you are going to speak. Your voice is all about you, what you desire, what inspires you, what gets you waking up in the morning and saying whether they pay me or not, I'm going to do it. So when I joined radio, I had a lot of challenges there, but I spoke my voice. And because I did, I got headhunted by another radio because they saw the genius in me, not the female. Because I let genius influence me. Even to this point, genius still influences me. So we've so far dealt with 2 things. What you value is where you speak from. What influences you is where you speak from. And now I'm coming to the last one, which is ownership. Many of us do not own our voice. And I say this especially for the females that have been working with the youth, because it depends where you were raised. I was raised, like I told you, from parenthood who valued get an education, get a degree, get a white-collar job, get married, have kids, retire. By the way, I do not believe in retiring. I believe in let go and refire and reinvent yourself. You see, the universal laws are such that when you disengage and you're no longer useful, you wither and die quickly. So many people ask me, why did you leave radio? I had reached the maximum, and yet I know I was born to speak to a wider audience. I still hold on to that vision as a child, standing before that microphone and saying, can you hear me? So fast forward, let's get into owning your voice. Here I was now in Radio 1, first female program director. I always pioneer stuff, man. That's me. A genius. You see the things that are influencing my voice right from childhood. So I get elected as program manager at Radio 1. And then for some time, I even became the manager because my boss wasn't around. I remember sitting down in my office and saying, Irene, is this what you really want? Is this the microphone? Is this the vision? Is this the genius? So I wrote my resignation letter and I took it to my boss and I told her I'm leaving radio, and she's like, you cannot. Who has bought you? Who's giving you money? What's going on? I said, no, it has nothing to do with you. It has nothing to do with money. It has to do with my voice. It is calling me. I was called to speak to a bigger audience. So I owned up. I remember leaving radio and everybody said, you're crazy, you must be nuts. Why don't you stay in a secure job? I told them, I think I'm ready to go into the unknown, because I was born to speak beyond the radio in Uganda, beyond the radio in East Africa, beyond the radio in Africa, beyond. I was born to speak to the universe. It's a scary thing, but because I knew my voice, I stood up for it. Every person I would meet, why did you leave radio? Now you're going to suffer. What are you going to do? You've left a secure salary. No. Right now, you can read my bio as international educator and speaker. That wouldn't have come if I didn't own my voice and say, you know what, I was born to speak to a bigger audience, and I'm going to step into the unknown. My question is, how many of you know that you are supposed to be beyond where you are, but you're scared of owning your voice? You're scared because people will come and tell you, you know, when you leave a secure job, you're never going to get into the market. We are now into the era of information and technology. It's not about a salary job, it's about what you can create. Whatever you can imagine and you can own it and speak it, you can become it. When the year started, I told myself, Irene, you are going to be an international educator and speaker. You're going to go globally and earning while making it. Previously, I came from a mindset, my parents' mindset, where they said, you have to make a living. You have to earn a living. No, you make a living from whatever you create. And that is the sphere that I am flowing from. So my question is, are you owning up for that thing that is burning you, that inspires you, you know? And let me tell you something, it causes a disruption. That thing you want to voice, which is you, will cause a disruption in the family, it will cause a disruption in your culture, it will cause a disruption even in your religion. This girl was once a preacher girl. I don't preach no more. I could preach your pants off, man. I would tell you, bring the money. I did all that, but I was still trying to find my voice. And I remember when I stood in front of the podium in church, I said, guys, I'm leaving because this is not my voice. I was called to ignite people to find their voice and create their own life. I think it's Bernard Shaw, the playwright, who said, you're not here to discover your life. You are here to create your life. But until you find your voice, you are going to live somebody else's life. I'm seeing so many young people who are trapped in their parents' visions, in their great-great-parents' visions. It worked for them then. I'm not saying don't disrespect it, but that was their vision, not yours. And so because you're scared of speaking and owning it, you're stuck there and you're saying, okay, when I get to 50, I will retire. When I retire, because that's what society has said. Who told you that you're naked? I know that comes from one of the scriptures of wisdom. That scripture has been misrepresented. It simply means, who said you do not have the power to be who you desire to be, and you're scared and you're ashamed and you're pulling away. So my point is, can you stand up for who you say you are and own it and speak it? Because when you start to speak it, you attract those things you want. You actually act and do something about it. When the year was starting, I told myself, Irene, you're going to speak every month, no less than 4 times. This is my second speaking engagement. Hallelujah. Because I owned my voice. So to wrap it up, those are the 3 filters you can use. Today, I'm just giving you a very simple question. Simple exercise. Get a journal. I know you do vision boards. Get a journal and ask yourself just these 3 questions. Number 1, what do you the individual, not mommy, not daddy, not your wife, not your children, what do I value? I've already told you I used to value self-expression and being a genius. Right now, I value wealth, knowledge, and freedom. I want you to write 3 things you value. You, the individual, write them down. Then ask yourself, what is influencing me? What makes me show up? What is influencing me? 3 things, write them down. Is it mommy? Is it daddy? Is it my education? Or is it you yourself, what inspires you? And then the last thing I want you to do, go back as a child. Find that one vision you got that always got you in trouble, but it caused you to be inspired, enthusiastic. There's something you used to do and your parents say, Hey, leave that. If you don't, you're not going to. Me, I was always dancing, I was always singing, I was always talking, I was always doing my hair, and you can see that's why I've turned out like this. I knew who I was all about, and our parents smack us and say, that is not going to get you a degree. No one is going to marry you when you're like that. But that was their voice. It's not your voice. I'm not saying we disrespect them, but that's their level of consciousness. That's what they knew. They were doing it out of protection. I don't want you to continue living your life trapped in somebody else's life because you're voicing somebody else's voice. Be bold enough to say, hey, this is what I've always wanted to be. Yes, it will cause a disruption, but let me tell you, the moment you do that, you'll also gather people around you. Like the Rotarians, you gather people of the like mind. You'll find so many people who are thinking like you, who will support you into that community, and you become the person you're desiring. But until you're clear of what you value, what's influencing you, and own up for it, you're going to continue living from somebody else's voice. And yet it's whatever you voice, in your thoughts, in your values, in your influence, and finally speaking up, that is charting